King, and this was a gentleman's name was James Cone, and he was the person who coined the terminology Black liberation theology, right? A theology, his way, and you can go on YouTube and find him, James Cone, Professor James Cone. The combination of the theology of the time, right? And using that theology towards liberating people. Now, he created the terminology or coined it, but Marcus Garvey actually would be, or Blythen, or some of those from the early 1900s. And what it teaches us is that Christian, Muslim, Jew, Yoruba, Hausa, Igbo, Ashanti, Zulu, Iwe, Fanti, Cherokee, Choctaw, Mandan, Mohawk, those are innately societies who have a culture that's similar, right? Very much similar. If we look at the similarities within the Christian, Hebrew, Muslim faith, or the similarities between Yoruba, Hausa, Igbo, Ashanti, Iwe, Fanti, Tininjani, Tuareg, Mandinka, you follow? If we look at the similarities, then we can begin to construct. If we look at the similarities between your friend and her partner, what are the similarities between the two religious identities? And grab, for the sake of the children, what are the similarities? Do Muslims teach about a person called Isa ibn Maryam? Yes, who's that? Jesus, cool. Do Christians teach about a comforter, which the book of Deuteronomy, if you're a Hebrew, says one would come being told in Isaiah to read, and he'll say, I can't read. And then they say, read, he says, I can't read. Then I go to a Muslim and say, Muhammad was told by Gabriel, read, and Gabriel said, read, Muhammad said, I can't read. That sounds familiar, all right? So we all can sit and we can debate it, but we can say there's a similarity in this, that there's a superior deity that's somewhere inside of us, right? If you're Christian, Christ says the kingdom of heaven is within. If you're a Muslim, you say Allahu nuru samawati wal ard, and then Allah, kul shay fi yad Allah. All things are in Allah's hands, right? So if I'm in Allah's hands, then while I'm in his hands, I'm in him, right? Because I'm in his hands. Christians say he got the whole world
in his hands.
In his hands, right? So this idea of belonging to a divine, Black folks, we can solve that problem if we just have a conversation. But everyone's trying to defend a position without having the scholarly insight to do the research, right? We're defending. I was talking last night. I don't sleep a lot, so I think it was early this morning or late last night. I'm not sure, right? But I was having a conversation, and we were saying that people, the average Christian, Muslim, Hebrew, has never even read their book cover to cover. Just being real, right? And that would go for my Yoruba brothers, my Dinka brothers, the brothers and sisters that are now into Dogon. None of them have really deep delved into that culture, society, doctrine, whether you're Pentecostal or your Sangoma or your Nomos, whatever. If you really get down to it, everybody gets to a wall. It's like, well, I never looked into that. I didn't know. So we're all arguing and defending positions that we really did not investigate. Our ancestors in the last 100 years, they made it that when you say of Frances Cress Welsing, she didn't just touch the surface of psychiatry. She dove so deep into it that it became her. She became the go-to person.
Right.
Guy Gentil is not just reading Guy Gentil's work. Guy Gentil is studying every article, every magazine. I'm sure if his wife is like my wife, they look at you sometimes like, you're reading again. You're over there. You're in the bathroom reading something, and you're not using the toilet. You're just in there because it's quiet, and you close the door, and you're like, okay, because you know nobody will bother you. And then somebody goes by, you do it on your hand. They go, oh, you're in the bathroom. They leave you alone. I've done it many times, right? Because they hear this, everybody hears that sound. That's the go-away sound, right? But I'm sorry, this is another side of me. But what happens is when we are able to do that, then families can sit down and have a discussion. But again, if the average person has not read the book that they're arguing the perspective of, don't know the history or we follow Jesus. Okay, Jesus was a Hebrew. Okay, what was Hebrew culture in that time? What are we doing that he did? We eat like him? No. We dress like him? No. We walk like him? No. We talk like him? No. Do we speak the language he spoke? No. Do we do anything that he did besides saying we follow him? No. Muslims, the average Muslim ain't doing nothing, Muhammad. You rode a camel? Ever rode a camel? I rode a camel. Went to Egypt, rode a camel. You rode a camel? No, then you don't understand what it means to ride a camel. Well, why would that be important? Because it speaks to the nomenclature, it speaks to the vernacular, it speaks to the mentality, it speaks to the isili, it speaks to the culture. So the first thing I would say to any couple who's arguing over religion, you don't even know what your religion is. Start with that reality. Before you tell your child, say, what do I really know about what I'm about to teach this baby? If not, we're just passing, as Dr. Vijanti and Kahanamantu and Deniran has said, we're just passing the programming on. We're just giving the virus. Hey, you want some virus, baby? Oh, sure, Grandma. Eat this virus up. You're a good boy. You're good. Ain't that virus delicious? Yes, it is, Grandma. And we're doing that to each other. We can fix the problem if all the adults in the room first say, we don't know what the hell we're talking about. Boom, that's phase one, right? Because if you have a baby and the baby gets sick and you don't know what to do, we all do the, okay, give them this, okay, put them in the tub, okay, bathe them. And then you get to the point where the fever is like, I'm not reacting to none of that. Mm-hmm. What do? We get in a car and we go to the experts. Yes?
Yes.
Okay, if a child is struggling with their math homework and you don't know how to assist them, what do? You reach out to someone and say, hey, math person, I need some help with this. I don't know how to explain it. You get help. But when it comes to religion and spirituality and upbringing of our children, all of a sudden we're experts. Not experts at helping with their homework, not experts at dealing with wound care, not experts even at cooking nowadays, but we're an expert when it comes to their mind development, their psychological development, their spiritual connectivity, all of a sudden now we're all experts. I'm an Egyptologist and I am what's the other group? My favorite, I'm an Egyptologist, or I'm a conscious person, or I'm a religious person, or I'm something that I only know surface about. I went on YouTube, I heard somebody say black is black and black power, and we're first people, pyramids, we built all the pyramids, we built everything, we're the first with gods. And we run. And then we tell our children, we're gods, we're the first. And then the kid goes to school and somebody says, well, God is in heaven. My mom said, Bobby Boucher, right, the water boy. My mom said that that God's in heaven. Now this poor child is conflicted. Mm-hmm. But if we can say, I don't know, mm-hmm. and go and sit with the Cresswelsons of this day, sit with the Van Sertimas of this day. And I'm not talking about the conscious people that are saying they're the one. No, Frances Cress Welsing didn't say she was the one. Her works said she was the one. Yes. Neely Fuller doesn't say he's the one. His writings and works says he's the one. Malcolm X didn't say, Elijah Muhammad didn't say, Marcus Garvey. We're not here saying we're the one. I'm not that way inclined. Mm-hmm. I'm more baseball cap t-shirt and some jeans on and some old beat up sneakers doing gardening or fixing something. What we're saying is we must get back to not just scholarly or theology or that aspect, but we need to add that to your works more than your words. Couples who want to work, I always say to them, what is the foundation of this relationship? What's the go-to textbook guidance that both of you can agree on? And ultimately in African indigenous culture or indigenous cultures around the world of melanated people, the agreement was mother, father, we disagree. But we both agree that the child needs us. And once we recognize that the child needs us, then we recognize we need each other. Mm-hmm. And then at that point, your greater society, your family, your community, your tribe, they dictate what womanhood will be. I can never tell you as mother what it means to be a mother. I will never know what it means to push a child out my womb because I don't have a womb. I've been in many delivery rooms, 13 children, but I still cannot tell you after 13 children in what it feels like to push a baby. And no, I'm not strapping that electrical thing on to let y'all shock me because somebody tries that, right? You can throw that out the way. And even with that, I will not know. I'll be told it's like that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Nor can a woman tell me what it means to be a man. That's but you right. See these men on the screen? They can tell me what it means to be a man. Mm-hmm. They can hold me accountable. They can keep me in line with culture once they determine what that means. You see the women on the screen? These women can tell you what it means to be a woman. They can tell you what's acceptable in womanhood. When we get back to establishing that, then as Baba Neely Fuller said, he said the 9 points. He said religion, and I say from in this order, Rel Sol Web, religion dictates what your rights, rituals, laws, commandments, precepts, principles will be. Your religion dictates that. When we move from that, that thus determines your economics. As I've said before many times, if I am a Jewish person at Beth Shlomo Synagogue, and we have 1,000 families, and we're producing yarmulkes, we know how many yarmulkes we need to produce for those 1,000 men. How many, if 1,000 men wear 10 yarmulkes a year, that's 1,000 times 10, that's 10,000 yarmulkes. It will then dictate what our labor force needs to be to produce the 10,000 yarmulkes. Religion establishes ceremonies, rites, rituals, laws, commandments. Ceremonies, rites, rituals, laws, commandments, precept, principles, thus determine your culture. Chinese culture is determined by the writings of Confucius or Shao Zhen. Understood? Or Mao Zedong, if it's today. Thus, once you have the culture, you can move to nationhood. Neely Fuller, Baba Neely Fuller tells us that when we have our economics in play, we know what the labor force will be. We can now employ that labor force. Once that labor force is in order, 90% of the arguments, Muslim, Christian, Jew, tall, short, thick, thin, light, dark, as melanated people, as couples, 90% of the disagreements is over finances. We don't have enough money. We're spending too much money. We're buying things we don't need. We have things that we need, we can't afford. And thus the disagreements begin. If we can guarantee our religion, our economics, and our labor, it guarantees our male-female interaction being in order. But we can't do this without having religion, which determines the rites, rituals, ceremonies, which determines the culture, which gives you nationhood. If we don't have that in play, economics not in play, labor not in play, sex, gender out of whack. If sex, gender is out of whack, what happens? The education of the next generation is out of whack. How can I know what to teach the next generation if the main primal things that Neely Fuller gave us is not in order? We can't educate the right way to the children. We're trying to fix the education of the children without fixing the first problem, the spirituality and the religion, the ethos. Spirit is ether, ethos. With personality, spiritos. If we don't fix the personality, the ether, the ethos, which is the religion or the spirituality for those who don't like the word religion, then we don't have the economics in play. We don't have the labor in play. The sex and gender is out of whack. We don't know what to teach the children. If we don't want to teach the children, then we end up violating laws of nature in favor of man's law or violating man's law because it's in conflict with our nature. If we don't have that law in place, then we have nothing worthy of protecting. The war security apparatus, males are no longer, we're not protecting our females. Females are not protecting us as males. We can't confide in women. And I don't mean you women, I'm talking in general for those who might hear this later. There's always a conflict. You're with a guy, you don't like the guy, you guys fall out, then you get with his friend, and his friend doesn't like you, then you get with the other friend, and then everybody's getting with a friend's friend or the friend's friend, and it's just chaos because there's no religion, economics, labor, sex, gender, education, law, war, security, nothing worthy of securing, no land, no resources, no food. If that's not in place, then the entertainment, Demirai Denny Rand. Now we're watching reality, irreality TV. Might as well call irreality actors TV. And we're taking on behavior. A white woman can sleep with a bunch of men on screen, porn all over the screen, and we give her own perfume and call it Kardashian. Oh, you understand? A black woman does the same thing. She's called Superhead. You understand? So now we're watching the wrong entertainment and then the political infrastructure, which is anti our structure. This structure is capitalism, which says me, get mine, no matter who I got to hurt, strong, survive, screw the rest of the world. African says an original indigenous Native American, Caribbean, and South American and Indus River Valley and Asian Pacific culture says we capital ourselves with an understanding that we are responsible for taking what we have amassed as an individual who was fed by the community. 50 Cent had a grandmama and a grandfather in a community that did whatever to help him or that he was selling drugs to in order to use and make the money. And then he forgets now that he don't have to pay the black tax. We understood that. Now the entertainment's in order. We know what to watch. We know the Cosby effect. We know the certain black programming, keeping your children watching as much black television, if they watch television at all, making sure the characters on there are black and that you're blackish. And that's why they got rid of blackish, because Lawrence Fishburne, the executive producer, he's writing consciousness into the script. He's bending it. And then the political structure. Politics is not people who are voting or getting voted for. Politics is the polis, heliopolis, policing, politics, policy. So the policy of racism, white supremacy. So I would say to any person, any couple, you're trying to focus on how you're going to raise your child. You better focus on how you and mom going to figure out where this spirituality thing comes to play. And if you don't know, then like you, when your child is sick, go to the doctor, find a Dr. Gijanti, find a Dr. Horace Wright, find a Dr. Elaine Ferguson, find a Dr. Nicole Ford, find a Dr. Charlene Chase, find a Dr., you know what I'm saying? Elder Owen, find a Dr. Cleveland Ineas III, find a Dr. Kaba Kamani, find a Dr. Renoka Rashidi, his work, so he may have been now with the ancestors. That's the obligation of the next generation. I'll yield.
Thank you, Amon. Being cognizant of time, I don't know if at this time we want to kind of go around with 2-minute questions. Is that this time, Basesh?
That works for me. I mean,
all right. So
I think I said my 12 minutes. So, so y'all got it. I'll say something at the end. They got it. They bring me off the screen.
So we're gonna go around 2-minute answers, if we may, starting with Kush, and then I'll pass it to Sister Simone and Sister Shan to go ahead and question everyone else. When we look at Bibi Marimba Annie, she spoke about us not being under the microscope, but put